I 100%ed Burnout on the PlayStation 2 and GameCube, and the only experience I have with the Burnout series is Burnout Revenge on the Xbox, what feels like decades ago, and me and my cousin loved that game. The speed, the destruction, the chaos, it was amazing in my 13-year-old. Oh my god, I was 13 when I was playing that, what the Anyway, having played no other Burnout games, that was the only picture I had in my mind, and this game doesn't come anywhere close to that. Now, of course, I know that games changed quite a bit in between 4 different iterations, unless your name is Madden, the show, or 2K. And you can see some of the foundational pieces of the series in this game, but it feels more like a demo than an actual full release. I mastered both versions in 13 hours, and that's with me having to beat the GameCube version twice because Dolphin decided not to register my achievements, and I didn't notice it until after I was done with the last race, so I had to replay the entire championship series again. The achievement set for the PS2 version is as bare bones as the game is itself. Complete all of the championships and face-offs and you're done. I had it finished in less than 4 hours. The GameCube set is basically the same list, but with a few additions for time trials and the survivor mode, but we'll get more in depth with all that later when we get to that point. I started on the PS2 version to go ahead and knock the easy one out of the way. We create a profile and go straight into the championship mode. There are 5 vehicles unlocked from the start and 4 more unlocked by winning their respective face-off race. Each car has a labeled difficulty, easy, medium, and hard, and the differences are simple. Easy is the slowest and drifts less. Hard is the fastest and drifts the most. I prefer to use the medium difficulty cars to avoid accidentally drifting into a crash, which already happened enough as it was, and I didn't need to experience that more than I already had to. The championship mode consists of 4 different 3-race tournaments and 2 marathon races that combine the other tracks into one really big one. Every race has a finish requirement to move on to the next, and if you fail to finish high enough, you use one of your 3 credits to restart, and if you run out of credits, you have to restart the entire tournament. I get into the first race, and honestly, the game doesn't look too bad, and that's even with this being recorded at a lower quality because I'm an idiot. The controls in this game are your basic racing controller setup, at least on PlayStation. X to accelerate, and square to brake. R1 is your boost. Speaking of boost, that's one of the main staples of the Burnout series, and unfortunately, I don't feel like its potential has been reached in this first game. You earn boost by driving against oncoming traffic, drifting, near misses, and clean laps. Problem is you have to completely fill your boost bar up to use it, and unless you're continuously driving into oncoming traffic, you build boost slower than Christmas gets here. And if you crash, you lose probably about half of your meter. So it's very high risk, very high reward. I found for the most part, you don't really need it. It is nice to have in case you get into a bad spot towards the end of the race and you really need a boost fast. Perfect example, I win my first race without even being able to get a full meter, and then I move on to the second track, which was painful considering I was still getting used to the way the cars handle. I didn't know at this point that drifting was the best way to go around the tracks, nor did I know how to properly drift, and I wouldn't really learn that until I started the GameCube version. I did finally get my boost meter full, and you really just can't feel the speed in this game when you're playing. I'm driving over 100 miles an hour, and it looks like I'm going through a cul-de-sac making sure I don't run over a kid. But even if it doesn't look like I'm going fast, I win all 3 races and unlock the Journeyman Has Started achievement and the first face-off challenge, which I immediately go start. I picked the muscle car, which is a hard difficulty car, I guess because I was unsure how hard these face-offs would actually be. In hindsight, it wasn't a great idea because all this thing does is slide all over the place if you barely even touch the stick. I crashed towards the end of the final lap and ended up losing, so I had to restart. But I got it on my second try and unlocked the Twilight Roadster achievement. When you win a face-off race, you unlock whatever car you just beat, so we now have the Roadster added to our garage, which ended up being my car of choice, I guess, just because I like the way it looks, I don't know. So I picked my Roadster and I start up the Big Run Grand Prix. We start on Hillside Pass, which actually became one of my favorite tracks in the game. It has a winding section with barriers in the middle that have to be avoided, and I almost always had fun driving through that section. Keep in mind, almost. You can't really tell it from the current gameplay you're watching, but I promise by the time I get to the GameCube version, I have learned how to play. I finished the next 2 races easily and unlocked Sprint Titan and Face-Off number 2. This time we're racing against a tow truck. This race is very easy as long as you don't crash. The tow truck is too slow to be a problem. This track is one of the harder ones to avoid crashing though, as it basically puts you driving into oncoming traffic for half the race. but I get through without messing up too much, and I unlock the Rush Truck achievement and the tow truck to drive. Next, we start up the Euro Marathon. This is the first of the 2 one-track championships. This track combines all the other European tracks into one. It's the longest track in the game up to this point. It took me 13 minutes to finish, and I won on my first try despite crashing 18 times. At least the crashes do look pretty good. I mean, some of them can be a little questionable. When you see the AI run pretty much head on into another car and bounce off of it and keep going, but you can barely sideswipe another car and somehow crash. The crashes themselves are subdued compared to the future games. They aren't near as chaotic, but they're still nice. But with all that done, I unlock the Continental Champion achievement, and I move on to the Savage Street Grand Prix. Nothing interesting happened during this one at all. 3 easy wins, and we get the Urban Dominator achievement and the face-off race number 3. This face-off race is against the Saloon GT at what might be my favorite track in the game. I had to restart once, but that was more because I suck ass than it was anything to do with this race being hard. But after that, I easily win and get the Not Saloon achievement and unlock the Saloon GT. So we go ahead and pick that for some reason and head to the Twilight Grand Prix. In this game, I felt like the hard difficulty cars were really touchy, but when I got to the GameCube version, it seemed like it was completely different. It didn't really click until I was in the process of writing the script for this video, but my analog sensitivity in PCSX2 is a little boosted, and I think that was what was causing every car to feel a little touchy. I actually completely failed this tournament and I had to restart because of the second race, so I swapped back to the Roadster and I easily won the first 2 races before I had to restart on the last one. I was getting super aggravated with this game at this point, and that only continued to build moving forward, but I managed to win the last race and get the Dust Champion achievement. So now I'm down to the last 2 achievements for this set, and I go to the Super Mini because the logic of using the slowest car on the longest track just sounded like the right thing to do in my caveman brain. Either way, we start the USA Marathon, the last race on the championship mode, and by far the longest. And by the way, I hate this section right here. These tight turns where you have to slow down to a snail's pace and turn directly into a blind spot is just god-awful. I realized towards the end of the 3rd lap that I wasn't going to win, so I went ahead and quit and switched to the Saloon GT and easily win in almost 19 minutes. Keep in mind, the Euro Marathon felt long enough, and that was almost 6 minutes total shorter. Either way, we get the Stateside Victor achievement and beat Burnout. But we still have one more race and achievement to get. So we go to the final face-off race and take on the bus. My first attempt went as horrible as it could, and I absolutely demolished a barrier that I couldn't see at all. So I just restarted. Then I got pinned in the corner by a bus, so I restarted. Then I ran straight into the same bus, so I restarted. I'm sure you can tell I was getting slightly annoyed by this point, but I finally managed to get through and get the Midnight Bus achievement and the Mastery. Unfortunately for me, the video does not end here since I get to play through the game again, but with even more frustration this time. Lucky for you, I'm not going to make you sit through it the way that I had to, so I went ahead and won all the championships and the face-off races and got all of those achievements. As I mentioned earlier, the handling felt better on this version, whether that be a game difference, emulator difference, maybe I just got better at this point, I don't know. But playing these back-to-back really pushed my attention span to its limits. I pretty much had YouTube playing in the background the entire time I was doing this, just because I felt like my mind was going numb. After all that nonsense is done, twice, might I add, I hop into the tow truck and try to win a race. I started on Interstate, but after 2 crashes and a crash out from myself, I switched to Rush Hour so I could keep gaining boosts since I'm at a speed disadvantage. The way the camera sits high up on this thing is kind of annoying. When one of the hazard symbols pop up, it completely blocks my view of traffic, but I guess I got lucky and I didn't crash, so whatever, I get the win. And with the win, I unlock the Special Must Be a Euphemism achievement. Now we go over to Single Race, and we win a race on Euro Marathon EX and USA Marathon EX. They're simply just the reverse tracks of the championship races. Nothing special, just really long. But I get the extra European and extra American achievements done respectively and move on to the next mode. The modes in this game are pretty bare. Time trial is as advertised. It's a time trial. Oddly enough, there's no achievements attached to it, so I didn't even try that. Survival mode is a 3-lap solo race where the goal is to make it through the entire race without crashing. and free run is a race without traffic. You don't get any of the more varied game modes from the future games like traffic check or the crash modes, which were my favorite, so that's a bit of a bummer. But we move on to survival mode and head to Rush Hour and get the Highway to Heck achievement. Next I go to Harbor Town and fail, and fail, and fail, and fail, and leave Harbor Town. After that nonsense, I decided to just try free run and relax from the annoyance of survival mode, and again head to Rush Hour. The achievements for this mode are simple time trial runs. They're really not hard since you have no traffic to worry about, and you only have to set a single lap time and not a full race time. I beat Rush Hour by 8 seconds, Harbor Town by 4 seconds, River City by 9 seconds, Hillside Pass by 6 seconds, and Gridlock USA by 5 seconds. That gets all of the Blazing Through achievements finished respectively, and now I'm left with just the survival achievements. I decided to go with the Super Mini with the mindset of I don't need to go as fast as I can, just as fast as I need to. I attempt Harbor Town again and crash on the 3rd lap, so I decide to stop before it spirals into the stink of deep sadness and failure. I move on to Gridlock USA and fail that one on the 3rd lap too because I crumble under pressure and I suck at this game, so I just gave up for the day. I came back the next day and I beat Harbor Town on my first try to get braking and harboring, Gridlock USA to get traffic jammed, Hillside Pass to get Green Hill Zone, and River City to get River City Ransom, and finally the Mastery. I'm not gonna lie, I struggled through this one. Not necessarily from difficulty, but just from annoyance. Playing them back-to-back probably wasn't the best idea, and the fact that I had to replay the entire game twice on GameCube really just pushed my enjoyment down even further. In my opinion, this isn't a good game. It's not even an average one. Maybe that's because I played a later game in the series first, so my expectations were a little biased, but while the foundational pieces are there are so many things that make Burnout games what they are, and they're missing. This feels to me like a basic arcade racer that doesn't really have any defining features that make it stand out. Like I said earlier, it's more of a demo than a full game. I had the idea of making a tier list to keep track of all of the games that I've mastered and my enjoyment of them, or lack thereof in this case. So, because I didn't do it for Guitar Hero, you go to bronze medal for being as average of a game as it gets. Both Burnout for the GameCube and Burnout for the PlayStation 2, you are as disappointing as it gets. I only put the GameCube slightly higher because I felt like the controls were better. That could be a me thing and not a game thing. But either way, the games just really suck. There's nothing to them. Sorry. But that's the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, like and subscribe to see what game I play next. I'll see you next time.